Hello, hi, morning, viewer. Welcome back to my channel, Hocantalk.english. Now, this is my English channel. I have another Chinese channel called Hocantalk, which is talking about the same video, but I actually presented them in Chinese or simplified Chinese. Now, today's video is a very interesting video. I quite sure that you don't find them elsewhere on the YouTube or other platform. Now, today I'm going to introduce all the busiest river in the world in terms of economic usage and commercial contribution to the population or to the country that it belongs to. So, because this is a very detailed background, if I want to introduce all the river one by one, so instead of doing that, I actually put down all the river, the historical background, everything into a slide so that you can actually read through them yourself. So briefly, some of the prominent river or the most busiest river in the world, I actually put down 11. So we have the Nile River, the Yangtze, the Mississippi, the Rhine, and also Danube, Ganges, Volga, and all these river. And I actually put down there the historical, the location in terms of geographical and all this. So again, to avoid this video becoming too long, I have put down the information on this slide so you can actually pause the video and cut and paste if you want to. And the next slide is to make my video very informative. Instead of orally, I repeat all this information. I have spent a lot of research and time to produce this slide so that from this slide, you can see some of the very in-depth profile of all these major river in the world. I don't think I put in the Nile River here, but again, the reason why is I have separately created two slides just to present the Nile River, which is the longest river in the world. So again, from this slide is a continuation of the previous slide. You can see some of the profile, business contribution, and historical development of the top major river in the world. Now, in order to showcase all the top busiest river in the world, and also to respect the Nile River being the world longest river, I actually separately produced two slides to introduce the Nile River. So as you can see, the Nile River is the world longest river. It's about 6,650 kilometers. So this river ranked number one, including longer than the Amazon River. So you can see that historically there were a lot of trade that flow through this river, and also the number of population till now, the latest one is about 250 million dependents on this river. There are a few dams being constructed on the river itself, and it is one of the top 10 busiest river in the world. So later on in subsequent comparison table, I will show you the ranking of Nile River vis-a-vis the rest of the international rivers in the world. Now, this will be a very important slide for this video. Again, in order to explain all the busiest river in the world, the best way to present information is through very informative slide, because it is not that practical to go through in detail each of the rivers and explain them one by one. So again, just for comparison, I put out there the world top rivers from the year 2020 to 2025, and you can see that in terms of the length, I put out there the length, the average cargoes in metric meters that pass through this river, and the most important thing is highlighted on the fourth column, which is the estimated annual trade value. If you can see, Yangtze is world number one. It is about 2.5 trillion US per year. Economic value pass through or utilize this river. And if you look at now is ranked number 9, it's about 78 billion. So, and I also put out there the primary trade commodities here. So from here, you can see that what are the products or services or even commodities or complete products that flow through this river through maritime trade. The subsequent few slides, I would capture some of the river to do a comparison. Like for example, in this slide, I actually compare now Yangtze, Amazon, and Mississippi. So from here, you can see what is their length, the water flow, and the most important thing is the total trade value, and what kind of product or business focus that these rivers serve. So for this slide, again, I chose a few comparison, like the Yangtze, Mississippi, the Rhine and Mekong River, and also Danube River. So I actually put down there the annual tonnage of a product that flow through this river, plus the kind of primary goods and product, and also the reported trade numbers. So some of the numbers are 2024, some of the numbers are 2025. So depending on how which are the latest figure I can secure from the other people research report. Now, another slide that I've produced in case you all want to compare Yangtze River, Mississippi, Rhine, and Mekong, and all these, I actually presented in another format. So in case you all want something different, now you can always pause the video and cut and paste or take a screenshot about this slide so that at least you know comparison among these river, which are the top 10 in the world, how do they compare to each other. And from a very clear, informative presentation, you can immediately understand who is the leader, who is one of the top 10, but not the top 3 among all the rivers in the world. Now, the next slide will be another information being presented to showcase the demographic and geographic comparison table, like how big is the population that dependent on the river, and also the significant and some of the key things that you should pay attention to. For example, I've actually ranked down the number of countries that are dependent on the river. From this table, you can see that for Yangtze is only one, there's China, because Yangtze only flow through China. For the Nile River, there are 11 countries, but the Pearl River again is within China, so it's one. Mekong, there are 6, for example, Vietnam, Laos, Thailand, Cambodia. So again, this table will be very useful. I've completed my research, I put out all these numbers, and I produced this beautiful slide. From here, you can see that the top population one will be the first one, called the Ganges River. So again, the rest you can read through yourself. Now, the next slide, I actually bring up 3 rivers for discussion. Number 1 is the Yangtze River. Number 2 is the Yangtze River, and number 3 is the Nile River. So from the Yangtze River, because it belonged to one country, China, from a business opportunity analysis point of view, you can see that this river is a very good potential for green energy production. So there are a few multiple dams that have been built up in this place. But again, because this river is very much solely serving China alone, so I think in any business opportunity along this river would be linked to government effort or a cooperation with the government, with the Chinese government. If you look at the Yangtze River, whereby many countries, I think it's 11 countries that are dependent on it, there are some potential business opportunities such as the agri-logistic and tourism, whereby there will be some upcoming demand for this sort of tourism cruise on the river. Of course, they have some conflict among all these 11 countries. But again, this is also part of the nature of the business systematic risk. And if we look at the next river, the Nile River, you can see that, of course, energy production is also one of the potential business opportunity, followed by agri-tech, because along the way, using the Nile River to not aggregate, to actually support the plantation of the surrounding agricultural kind of a business development is very promising. So again, this will be one of the key area. But of course, because it supported quite a few countries along the whole river, naturally you will come with conflict and also confrontation or disagreement among countries that depend on this river. Now you know which are the top 10 river in the world in terms of economic values contribution, which is the busiest river in the world, which is the Yangtze River, the longest river, the Nile. And from all these top 10 or top 11 rivers in the world, I've given you all the profile, historical development, and some of the country that dependent on this river, and also the total population that are dependent on the river. Now, if you look at the other aspect of all this river commercial trade, one question that viewer will ask will be, can countries collect toll fee? Because as you know, recently, because of the conflict in Iran, the Strait of Hormuz and also the Strait of Malacca. Some country, for example, Indonesia, did randomly request for collecting tolls, and some other country also thinking of that idea. Now, so are countries along all these internet or global busiest river allowed to collect tolls? The answer is no. But there are some exceptions. So if you look at the slide that I presented, most of the river, they do not collect tolls, or they are not allowed to collect tolls, but they allowed to collect service fees such as the port usage, the waste disposal. So they collect other kinds of fee that is linked to services provided, but nothing on toll. Of course, there is some small exception, which is the St. Lawrence Seaway that's located in USA. So there is some toll charge, but that's very much on the location, or that's very much linked to the infrastructure cost that's built and to facilitate US and Canada trade. So this cost, in term of which is presented in in the toll format, is being collected so that to recover the infrastructure cost. Now, now we have some understanding regarding whether can a country collect tolls. The next thing that people will ask is, how about the law of the sea, which is based on the United Nations agreement called UNCLOS. I've done a separate video on the law of the sea, so if anyone who is keen to know what is UNCLOS can also go and take a look of my video. But again, for this, to apply UNCLOS on rivers, in the world, the answer is no. You cannot directly apply UNCLOS because all these internal rivers are considered not, it doesn't belong to the international user. It only belongs to the country that own the river. But again, there is a special arrangement. If certain foreign ship wanted to deliver some product to certain port along the river, if there's any special treaty signed or any agreement signed between the vessel operator and the country that operate or manage the river, it could be done. Just like in Yangtze River, foreign ship can deliver the goods to a certain port, to some of the ports located along the Yangtze River. But again, we have to understand that for UNCLOS, it is not applicable on river because it's considered internal waters, so it's not applicable. There's also no right of innocent passage or transit passage, all this kind of description, which I explained in the Law of the Sea video. Now, this slide I actually expand further the treaty sign, some of the treaty that actually regulate the use of the river. So again, the title of this slide is called Foreign Access versus Local Restriction on Waterways. So again, you can see that some of the treaty signed USA, there are some certain requirements, like foreign ship can only deliver international cargo to a specific port or pick up a cargo for export at a specific port. And any ship that transport all this cargo must be carried on the US built, US owned, or US flag vessel. Now, for China, for example, the Yangtze, I mentioned before that foreign vessels are allowed to some of the specific port which is open to for foreign vessel to actually discharge their international cargo. But again, there are some restrictions, which is, for example, foreign vessels are not allowed to move goods between two Chinese river ports. Other rivers that support more countries, like the Rhine River, the Danube River, because many countries actually dependent on it and actually share some sovereignty right over this river. Now, the treaty or the agreement signed actually allowed for the highest level of foreign access because there are many countries dependent on it. So again, quite logically, among all those countries that own or dependent on this river, they are considered the member state of this river, and the flow between this river for the member state are always allowed, but not for other non-member state of the river. So the next slide, I actually show some summary so that you can remember it clearly. For inland rivers, the applicable law will be the national law. It got nothing to do with United Nations UNCLOS or so again, this UNCLOS is only applied on open seas. So for inland rivers, if it's depend on treaties or the national law. Sovereignty, I also put down there on the table. The country that actually own the river, which is considered internal waters, has absolute sovereignty over the usage of the river. Now, come to tolls, there's not allowed to collect tolls, but you can collect service fee, some of the services such as waste disposal, cleaning out the river, and etc. But for the open sea, under UNCLOS, no tolls is allowed to be collected. So the rest, I think I'll leave you to read through. But again, this provide a summary about the applicable jurisdiction or the applicable regulation governing both the open sea and the rivers, which is considered internal water. Okay, now we come to the last slide of this video presentation. Again, I think this last slide is also for information purposes. I actually put down there the authority, the relevant regulatory authorities that govern and manage all these busiest river in the world. So in case you all need to approach them for any licensing or any business discussion, I actually put them down. So you can see from the slide, each of the river I put down there, the authority that actually govern it. Some spread over across a few countries because there are multiple countries dependent on the river. So from here, you can actually read through the slide, which is quite informative. Likewise, if you want the information, you can always pause the video and do a cut and paste or a screenshot of the slide provided. And with this last slide, I have presented the river marine trade situation to all my viewer. Of course, it is not practical to go into very deep discussion because that will take days and the video be very long. But instead, I actually put down a lot of information on my slide. So in case you need to screenshot or capture this slide, please go ahead. And I hope the information presented in my videos will be useful to your career development or business decision. Thank you very much. Again, now this is the end of the video. I hope the information provided here is useful and I hope you like my video. Kindly subscribe or forward my video to your friends so that they can also enjoy this video. Thank you for watching. See you next video. Bye.